Waiting for the Invitation, a cozy corner where projectors can wait together because waiting's better with company. Hi there, and this is our very first episode of Waiting for the Invitation. I'm Olivia Louise, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. This podcast is all about exploring life as a projector in human design. Whether you're new to human design or have been living in your experiment for a while, I'm creating this space for connection, guidance, and inspiration. A space where we can lean into the beauty of what it means to be a projector. Also, a space where we can wait together because, let's be honest, waiting for the right invitation can get lonely sometimes. This first episode is going to probably be for those who are already a little bit familiar with human design and their type being a projector. But in future episodes, we will kind of break that down more for people who are new. But I kind of wanted to start where I am, which is about 10 years into my experiment. And it's just been a really beautiful process, and I'm really excited to share my experience with others. Before we dive in, let's acknowledge the start of the new human design year. It began officially on January 21st, 2025, around 12 p.m. And this is when the sun moves into gate 41. This gate marks the energy of new beginnings, imagination, and the spark of potential. And the sun will remain in gate 41 until midnight on Sunday, January 26th. So we're currently immersed in this powerful creative energy. Gate 41 is the starting point, and so the new year starts every year when the sun enters gate 41, and it is located in the root center, which is all about pressure and drive. However, this gate doesn't represent just any pressure, it's the pressure of imagination, of creating something new, of dreaming about what could be. Gate 41 is the entry point for the human design mandala, symbolizing the beginning of new cycles and the energy of initiating a journey. It's where we tap into our creative potential, and it's often referred to as the gate of fantasy or contraction because it condenses our desires into one focused vision, a seed for what's to come. For projectors, this energy can be incredibly potent. It's a time to embrace your role as a guide by reflecting on what you'd like to call into your life and who you would like to call into your life. But rather than feeling the pressure to act or manifest immediately, Gate 41 invites us to dream and imagine. It's the space to get clear on what feels aligned before the right invitation arrives. This is especially important for projectors because our energy works best when we wait for recognition and alignment. During this time, consider asking yourself, what do I truly desire to experience or contribute? What invitations would feel most fulfilling and aligned with my unique gifts? This isn't about rushing or hustling, it's about letting your imagination plant seeds for opportunities that it will bloom in the right timing. Gate 41's energy will support you in holding space for these dreams while trusting that the universe will bring the invitations that you need. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a split definition, emotional 6'2" projector. Yes, and this is the same profile Ra Uruhu likened to the Titanic because we're so emotional. And I can say that human design has completely transformed my life. My goal with this podcast is to share stories, sometimes juicy, insights, and practical tools for projectors to thrive in a world that doesn't always recognize our unique energy. This is a solo podcast. Maybe in the future, as it grows, we'll have some people come on and talk, but for now, you'll be hearing my personal experiences, lessons, and reflections in every episode, which will be released every Friday. Learning about human design literally saved my life as a young projector, addicted to doing too much, and it gave me permission to accept and even enjoy my unique energy blueprint and who I truly am. So today I want to start by sharing the pivotal moment in my journey when I entered my experiment. It's the story of my true energy breakdown, a breakdown that ultimately led me to discover human design in 2014. This was a turning point that completely reshaped how I understood myself and my place in the world. So let's dive in. I grew up in a household with a manifestor father and a generator mother who are both workaholics. Even into their later stages of life, they still always work or clean, but they're always doing something at home. I had a palpable sense when I was a child that I couldn't just come home after school and rest because I was so worried that my parents would think that I was lazy, my father in particular. So I always had activities. I either had sports or music lessons every day after school, and by high school this turned into activities 7 days a week, sports 5 days a week. And then I also pushed myself to go to community college at night after high school and my practices. I would be getting home around 9 p.m. 2 to 3 nights a week. My weekends were packed with sports events on Saturdays, and I would always have band practice, chores, and after years of this, by my senior year of high school, I developed extreme anxiety. I did not know what was going on with me because I had never had anxiety before, but what it really was is that my nervous system was overloaded. But I continued to push through. And it wasn't until college, when I was no longer living with my parents, that I finally slowed down because I had that time after school where I could just kind of do what I wanted without feeling the fear of being judged for being lazy. I still managed to get really good grades and had some extracurriculars, and I graduated without working as hard as I had before. But it was the first time in my life that I spent a lot of my time just resting. This created a lot of confusion for me and a lot of guilt because I had never allowed myself to just kind of have these long hours horizontal in bed, spending time looking at or researching things that I thought were really personally interesting. I felt bad because I felt like I was being lazy, but was actually really good for me. My anxiety cleared itself up with allowing myself to have this extra time to rest. And I also spent a lot of time in nature, going on long hikes by myself. And that was really important to me to integrate that into my weekly ritual, is to just have these long periods of time alone in nature and to rest, watch movies if I needed to. And this really helped me, even though I still was carrying that judgment about it because I hadn't found my type yet. I didn't know I was a projector, and I thought that, there was something wrong with me because I wasn't doing all the time like I was prior. So in 2014, I had just finished my master's degree, which is a big accomplishment, right? But instead of feeling proud or excited for the next chapter, I felt completely drained. It was a time when I had actually found a job after school that I was excited about, but instead of kind of focusing on my job, I actually started doing a lot of research around astrology. And this is when human design first came into my life because my roommate at the time, her father is a very well-known human design reader in the community of Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is where I was living, and it's also where I grew up. And he was a student of Ra when Ra Uruhu lived in Taos, New Mexico. And he introduced me to human design, and he did my chart for me. And it was the first time that I like a light bulb went off. And actually, I had gone home to my parents, and we all did our birth charts, and we found out which types we were, which was a really beautiful moment because we were able to see our family dynamic very clearly, and all three of us were like, oh, like this makes a lot of sense. And it was really beautiful to do that as a family. I am really interested in how human design can help dynamic relationships in small work teams or families. And this was kind of the answer that I had been looking for all along. Looking back, I can see how much I had pushed myself from high school to college to graduate school, and never giving myself permission to take a real break, to breathe, to pause, to rest. This was the first time where I was like, oh, it's okay to rest. And it's not normal to always be extremely tired, because I wasn't only just mentally tired from all my studies, I was also physically tired from physically using up my energy with sports every day. There would be times that my mom would just let me sleep in because she knew that I was just totally exhausted. And as soon as I got home, I would go to bed. So now those are very normal parts of my life where I do go to bed at 8:30 every morning or every evening, and I try to wake up pretty early, but still if I need to sleep in, I will allow myself, because I know that rest is like a very integral part to my overall health. Projectors aren't designed to work like generators or manifestors. We're not here to hustle endlessly or to initiate constantly. Our role is to guide, to see, and to recognize, but only when we're invited. And most importantly, we're designed to rest. It felt like someone had handed me a manual for my soul the first time I found out that I was a projector and saw my body graph, because for the first time I had permission to stop pushing, to stop trying to keep up with the world around me, and to stop using energy that I just didn't have. That breakdown in 2014 wasn't just an energy crash. It was my body's way of forcing me to realign. It was saying, this isn't sustainable, and you're not here to live like this. And discovering human design gave me the language to understand what was happening to me and the tools to start living differently. I've learned so much since then, and my journey is still unfolding. But what that moment taught me is one of the most important lessons I've ever learned, that by honoring my energy and trusting that the right invitations will come when I'm aligned, I can live a life that's full of ease and still be filled with success and feeling like I'm making a difference in the world. What I was experiencing was classic burnout, which psychologists define as a state of chronic physical, emotional, or mental exhaustion caused by prolonged stress. It is often accompanied by feelings of detachment, reduced performance, and an overwhelming sense of fatigue. From a biological perspective, burnout is closely tied to our body's stress response. When we experience ongoing stress, our brain's hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis becomes dysregulated. This leads to an overproduction of cortisol, the stress hormone, which can wreak havoc on our bodies, our energy levels, and our immune system. Over time, the body struggles to maintain this heightened state of stress, leading to the exhaustion and mental fog that are hallmarks of burnout. In addition, burnout affects the brain's prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for decision-making, focus, and emotional regulation. This is why people experiencing burnout often feel scattered, irritable, and unable to concentrate. I'm giving you this information because for projectors, burnout can feel particularly intense because we are not designed to sustain the kind of constant output that generators and manifestors thrive on. We are much more susceptible and sensitive to burnout, and pushing ourselves beyond our energetic limits creates a mismatch between how we're wired and how we're living, which can result in both physical exhaustion and a deeper sense of misalignment. Here are 5 tips for projectors to identify early symptoms of burnout. The first is chronic fatigue. If you feel constantly tired, even after a full night's sleep, it's a red flag. So try to pay attention to how often you're feeling completely drained. Journaling is a great tool for projectors to really keep track of how we're feeling. The second one is irritability or emotional overwhelm. And for projectors, also bitterness. So are you feeling emotional sensitivity and irritability? This can indicate that you're overstretched. So notice if small things are triggering you and if you're having bigger reactions to them. 3 is difficulty focusing. Are you struggling to concentrate or are you feeling mentally foggy? This is a common sign of early burnout. If tasks that were once easy now feel impossible, take a step back. Number 4, feeling misaligned. Do you have a persistent sense of something's off or feeling disconnected from your true self? This can be a symptom of overworking or ignoring your energy limits. And then 5, loss of joy or passion. If things that used to excite you now feel like a chore, it's time to evaluate how much energy you're giving away without replenishment. Ways that we can use human design to start to recognize these signs of burnout is to pay attention to whether you are exhausted or are you feeling satisfied but tired. So you can use your inner authority to notice the difference between the two. Because there is a difference between feeling naturally tired from using your energy to guide effectively or to pursue your passions, but then there's just burnout from overdoing. And this is feeling exhausted without a sense of fulfillment. It's a clear sign that you've taken on too much. So you can ask yourself, am I drained because I've been pushing to prove myself instead of waiting for recognition? You can also reflect on your invitations. You can use your strategy of waiting for the invitation to assess what commitments feel aligned. If you are accepting invitations out of fear of missing out or pressure rather than recognition, or just feeling bad to say no, which I know that we all deal with, your energy will likely feel stretched. So another journaling prompt that you can use is, did I feel seen and appreciated when I accepted this invitation? Did I truly want to say yes? And does this align with my natural gifts? Also, listen to your body signals. We often get subtle hints like feeling irritable, physical discomfort, or fatigue, even a sense of bitterness, which we are designed to feel when we're not living correctly in our design. And so when you're feeling any of these things, learn to just pause for a moment and check in with yourself. So a good way to check in with yourself regularly is to just schedule it as a part of your non-negotiables. Make a little slot in your day every day to have a check-in where you can either journal or meditate, maybe even going on a walk without a podcast or music to just check in with how you're feeling. And evaluate your energy exchange. Use your inner authority, whatever that may be, splenic or emotional, or self-protected. So use your authority to review whether the energy that you're giving has been appreciated, seen, recognized, or reciprocated. Are you guiding people who asked for your insights and truly value your opinion, or are you trying to force recognition and over-giving advice without properly being invited to do so in the first place? So ask yourself, am I giving more than I am receiving in this dynamic? For emotional authority of projectors, which I'll add a tidbit since I am an emotional authority, a good tip is to let yourself process your emotions fully before saying yes to anything. This has saved me many times, and it was a really hard muscle to develop where I allowed myself to just say, let me get back to you. I need some time to think about this. And At first, it felt really weird to say, and I was worried about hurting people's feelings or being judged by needing time to think about it. But it helps me so much as an emotional authority where I'm riding that wave to allow myself the gift of time to get clear to say yes. And even if it's a time-sensitive thing, just giving yourself a day extra, it really helps. And if you notice a pattern of agreeing too much during emotional highs, make a habit of revisiting commitments when you're feeling more neutral. As a reminder, when in doubt, wait it out. So, to wrap up, if you've ever felt that deep tiredness that I'm talking about, whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual, know that you're not alone. And if you're a projector, know that it's okay to rest. In fact, it's necessary, and like me, it might have even saved your life. Thank you so much for joining me for this first episode of Waiting for the Invitation. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to me on social media or share your own story of discovering human design. In the next episode, we'll dive deeper into what it means to wait for the invitation and how to navigate that as a projector. Until then, take care of your beautiful energy, and I'll see you next time.